Hey girl, welcome back to the podcast. I am super excited to chat with you today I don't like that. Hey girl, welcome back to the podcast. I'm super excited to be talking with you today. Well, not with you because you're not here, but like to me, it feels like you're here. So today we're going to talk a little bit about highlights and insights over the past year, this 2023, because it literally ends tomorrow. And there's just been so many things that have happened. And when I look back at it, like not even like super eventful things, I wish I would have had a bigger year, to be honest, but there were still a lot of good lessons and tidbits. And so let's just get right into the episode. All right, so I have some notes here. So we're just going to start by number one. This actually happened in January of this year. And the biggest lesson is having faith. So I went back home to see my mom. She was supposed to have this really big back surgery. Long story short, her insurance kept going back and forth with her whether or not she was like on the list to have it. And it just was a whole thing. It really made me realize that like how much you need money in order to afford quality healthcare and to not have to go through the sort of things that my mom had to go through during this whole conundrum. And so long story short, they said that she's not on the list for the surgery. My mom's calling all around her insurance, all the things, right? Then we were doing an errand. They call her. They're like, okay, call your surgeon. You're going to be back on the list. Okay, great. Then my mom ends up going to the doctor's office like that next day or in the next couple days to actually have the surgery. And she calls me at like 6 or 7 in the morning saying, Erica, they don't have me on the list. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm just like, I am tried at this point. Like, I am so livid. I'm upset. I'm frustrated because like, I am not at a point financially where I can just be like, hey, like, screw the insurance, like here's a check, and like it just makes me so upset because I don't like feeling helpless in that sort of way, especially to my mom who's like done literally everything under the sun for me and to give me like the best life that she could, right? So I was super frustrated. And so what I tell her on the phone, I'm just like, do not come home until you have that surgery. And like, I don't know what it was. In hindsight, I know what it was. It was Jesus, because I had to have faith. I was not about to, like, seriously, like, no, you're not coming home until you get this surgery. I heard what the woman said. I've heard this back and forth. This is happening. Like, and having so much faith, like even when things are not looking good, and even when your mom is like bawling and it feels like there's nothing you can do to like take this burden off of her, like it was awful. But that was the biggest lesson, like have faith regardless. Doesn't matter what the doctors say, doesn't matter what your boss says, doesn't matter what not that your neighbors would have anything to say, but what your neighbors have to say. It doesn't matter what anyone has to say, doesn't matter what the situation is. All that matters is that you keep having faith and trusting the Lord, because He is your ultimate provider. He is the source. Your job is not your source. Your school is not your source. Jesus is your source. And that's what I had to learn this January. Okay, next one. Advocate, and these are in no particular order or particular month, but that just happened to be like the first thing that happened earlier this year for me. So next thing, advocating for yourself and like just pushing past your comfort zone. So this actually was a more recent thing that I was dealing with. I had taken a couple Botox trainings, and the first one I took earlier this year, I just was like not a fan of. I didn't really leave with any more confidence than I had come in with. But later this year, I had another Botox training and I thought it was super helpful. I loved it. I was ready to dive right in. This is around the same time that I started reading a particular book, which we'll talk a little bit about how that kind of plays in a little bit. But in the book, it was like, you have to like stand up for yourself. Like you have to advocate for yourself. Like you want to be in this comfort zone, but like nothing good ever comes from that. Like it's literally everything that you want is on the opposite side of your comfort zone. And yes, of course, I know like we continue to hear this and it's like, but there was this one particular moment where, first of all, injecting needles into somebody's face is already stressful enough, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I've got this training. I'm excited to do this. Like, I just want to jump in and do it, right? Like, because there was so much time that had passed from the first training that I'd done until my next training that I essentially lost any skill that I even thought that I had, right? And so I didn't want this to be the same thing as that experience. And so I was in the break room with the owner of my job, and something inside of me was like, ask her about like if you can do Botox tomorrow, like if you can have a model, like just ask her, because I technically already have, like I have the certification, right? But like my comfort zone, like my little Erica, was like, no, don't ask. Like, no, it's scary. It's something new, right? But I was like, no. And from the book that was in my head, it was like, no, like you have to advocate for yourself. Like you have to hear that fear and you have to do the thing anyway, right? And so like I spoke up and I said it and I did it. And then like the owner was like, yeah, let's do it whenever you feel comfortable. And I was like, I feel comfortable. Did I feel 100% comfortable? No. But was I ever going to feel more comfortable if I would have stayed small and not decided to speak up and say anything? No, I wouldn't have, right? Okay, so that's a little tidbit for that. And by the way, her Botox turned out so good. She had such a deep line right here in her glabellar complex. It was just so gnarly. Even at rest, like the wrinkle was wrinkling, okay? It wasn't so much of a wrinkle. It was a deep line from making this constant expression. I did my own Botox. I only wanted a little bit because I still wanted to be able to like emote. But if you're watching the video, when you constantly bring your eyebrows together like that, you have these corrugators that are deep right here and then they go out superficially. And then you have your procerus muscle and then you have the depressor supercilii in this area. And so we were treating the corrugators pretty intensely and then pretty superficially for like the superficial corrugators, but here is where she had like the most pull. And so when we were able to relax this area, night and day, like night and day. It was so beautiful. She didn't really have moderate forehead wrinkles, but we did go ahead and obviously treat that because we want to treat all of the upper face when you're doing Botox, because then you can kind of like ruin the balance of the face, because you have the frontalis muscle, and this will make a lot more sense if you're watching the video. So hey girl, your frontalis muscle is in charge of pulling your face like back, like up and back towards your hairline. But then you also have like the depressor muscles. So there's going to be like the orbicularis oculi. They're going to be the circular muscles around your eye. Those are obviously in charge of closing your eyes. And then you have, of course, as I was saying, the depressor muscles along this area. So the corrugators and then the depressor supercilii and then even the procerus will all contribute to a downward pull. And so that's why like you never want to be like, oh, I just want to like get rid of my forehead wrinkles. Like, no, honey. And a Botox injector who knows anything, like I'm a novice and I still know that you have to treat the whole face so it continues to give it balance and symmetry. Okay, so next little tidbit and highlight. Enjoy the time you have with your family. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I super last minute ended up going to see my nephew for his birthday because he called me. This is my one nephew that I have. And again, if you're watching the video, I'm going to show you oh my god, my little can you see? That is my little nephew, Aiden. He's not so little anymore. He just turned 15, but I called him and I was like, hey, like, what do you want for your birthday? Like, I'll buy you anything because I love him. Like, I love him. He's like my own baby, right? I love him. Auntie's forever, okay? If you don't have any kids and you have like a niece or a nephew, like, then you know, right? If you know, you know. So he's like, I don't want anything. Like, I want to see you. What do you mean? What do you mean you want to see me? I'm like, I literally thought you were too cool to see your auntie. Like, what? He's like, no, like, it's been a long time. Like, I want to see. I'm like, did your mom put you up to this? He's like, no, I just want to see you. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, like immediately flight booked. Like, I'm coming to see you, right? And so just getting to see him and spend time with him and seeing how he's like grown up and matured and how cool he is and how funny he is. I'm just like, I would have paid $1,000,000 to have this exact moment. Like, I'm so happy it worked out. Like, our office was closed at work, so like I didn't have that to worry about. It was a no-brainer. Like, and I'm just so happy to been able to make memories with him. And like, oh, I just like, words honestly can't describe how happy I feel. And every time I look at this picture on my watch, it just makes my heart smile because I actually, like, for once was able to go and see, my family and not have money or time. Usually it's time, like, being an issue, right? And so it was just really, really beautiful. And of course, getting to spend time with my sister and like getting to bond with her. And we talk all things wellness. It's literally so fun. I'm actually going to start her podcast so she can start talking about like wellness and scripture and all the things. But it's just so cool. Like, just getting to talk about things that we both love with each other. And it's, I love it. Okay. But yeah, spend time with the ones you love. Don't let money or time be a priority. Like, just go see them. And like, with that, telling them that you love them, like giving people their flowers, right? It's like, you honestly don't know if tomorrow or, in the next 5 minutes could be their very last breath. And you do not want to go around harboring these, you never harbor any ill feelings, but like keeping those lovely emotions to yourself, like tell the people that you love them. Like, tell that person who's killing it in that dress that she is killing it in that dress, tell that man he's got a sick beard, like, just be kind and generous. Like, don't hold back on the compliments because you feel silly or like you don't want to give that person the wrong impression or whatever. Like, you could deal with that when the time comes, but like, in that moment, if you genuinely have something nice to say about that person, just say it. Just say, girl. Okay, next one. Ooh, this is good. Okay, so I have the most random conversations with pretty much like half naked women, like vibrating on a vibrating like plate, essentially. It's really weird. I do a lot of like metabolic coordinating. It's basically a fancy term for like setting up people on red light therapy panels to lose weight. And so one of these patients was, I was talking to her and I'm like, I struggle with like how to find my passion, and like the gifts that God has given me, because we talk a lot about Jesus and, the things. And she was like, what I heard from the Lord is that like you have to be patient in the moments that are really sparking your attention or bringing you joy or just that you feel really passionate about. And one of those moments for me is when I was presenting a red light treatment plan to this couple and then to this girl who just started at our job and she was training. And so it was like almost like a small group that I was presenting to, but in that moment, I really was present. And like, as I'm going through the whole thing, I'm doing my thing. Like, I'm just doing it. The words are flowing. I love the way I'm explaining things, and not just because I'm explaining any old thing. I'm explaining something I'm passionate about. I really do believe in the power of red light therapy and how much it helps to heal the body and reduce internal inflammation and help with weight loss and just bring your body back into homeostasis. Like, I'm a super big advocate for it, but like, the umbrella of it is that it's wellness, and I'm a huge proponent of wellness. And so being able to share that and educate somebody on wellness, on something that can really benefit their life in a positive way, that's like natural, like the same technology or the same wavelengths that are present in the panels that we use, and just like in those in that spectrum of light is the same wavelengths that are present in sunrises and sunsets. But of course, like, you have to be out in those all day, to get the benefits. And obviously those wavelengths are not present for more than just the sunrises and the sunsets. So just tap in, like drop into the moments where you feel like really lit up, or like you just feel like you're in your flow state, like it just feels good. And that can be a really great cue or clue. It's a clue, not a cue, on like what your divine gifts are, like the things that God has put in your heart for you to really explore and express and just like bring into fruition. This is good. So, this next insight and highlight is let it go. Just let it go, girl. Now, I know we all know to just like let things go, but for me, this is a big thing. And like, because when it comes down to it, it's like, who would I be if I wasn't telling myself this story, And whether or not I'm consciously going around telling people, hey, I feel really self-conscious about back in the day when people used to make fun of me about like how I spoke and, how I, just communicated and how my voice sounded. And so that really caused me to like shut down internally and just be super hesitant about opening my mouth to speak because of how people were going to respond, right? I was kind of telling this to my nephew. He was laughing at me because I was trying to tell him that he should be a comedian. I guess I was just saying it in a way that was just like almost convoluted for him. And I was just like, he's like, why do you say it like that? I'm like, because I just don't want anything to be like lost in translation. And I want everyone to like know exactly how I feel about this, And like, and then I gave him the whole story that I just, said to you about how I just felt like super self-conscious about speaking and this, that, and the other. And he was just like dying laughing. And I know it wasn't coming from like a meaner or hurtful place. The way I took it was like, first of all, these Gen Z kids are out here with all the confidence. Like they don't let anything like get them back or hold them down, or like they think that they can honestly do it all. And like, I love that. Like I want to embody that. And when he was laughing, I started laughing. And I'm like, the fact that I'm letting these things hold me back, but it's literally so comical. Like these things literally don't matter. And like maybe they mattered when I was 10 or 11, but like that was like 15 years ago, not to the T. You can do your own math. I'm 30, whatever. But like, what? Like, why would I even remotely give those sorts of thoughts the time of day? Like, let it go. Let it go. Shut it down. Move on. Just move on, girl. So if you've got something that you're holding on to, move on. Let it go. Tell a new story, okay? And of course, it's easier said than done. But this is something that really just like stuck with me. When you get like gum on the bottom of your shoe and it just like is stuck there until like you actually go and like forcefully remove it? Sometimes that's what we gotta do to these like intrusive like thoughts that are not serving our highest good. Okay, this is a good one too. Be patient. Seek to understand rather than react emotionally. Now, take it for what you will, because we all can apply different lessons in different ways. So however you heard it, apply it however it spoke to you. How I wrote it, however, excuse me, is a different story. So for me, having dark spots, dealing with hyperpigmentation, if you're a woman of color, then is something that is so emotionally charging for me that I will go out and buy whatever. Now, being a licensed esthetician, I know products that will work. Like you have to consider the like delivery system, the quality of the ingredient, like the type of the actual ingredient, the formulation itself. Like you have to take all these factors into consideration. However, when I'm on TikTok and I see, somebody in a similar, skin struggle as me, and they've talked about how this product, this like regular product from like Sephora or Target or whatever the case may be, has worked for them, I immediately want to purchase it. Okay. And so lately I've been kind of getting myself caught up in this little cycle of emotionally buying. So I do want to ask you, like, what are you emotionally buying, emotionally spending for? Because I know it's something, girl. I know. For me, it's skincare, specifically things that will help get rid of dark spots because I'm over it. And as a professional, like, there's just like this stigma to have perfect skin. And of course, like it's not all stigma, like you are your walking billboard. And yes, my skin has come a long way and I'm definitely more like proud and happy of where it's come. But it's a different story when it's like your skin, because had it been a client, I would be like, no, girl, don't get that. Like, no, you shouldn't be over exfoliating. Like, no, you shouldn't be doing this, that, and that. Do this, that, and that. And like, be patient, right? I know exactly what to do and what to say when it comes to treating patients. But when it comes to treating myself, because there's that emotional component, like, it's like the knowledge is just out the window. And like, I stop emotionally spending, okay? This one is for me. All right. Oh no. My whole makeshift setup. We're back. The makeshift setup is back. Okay. All right. Last couple ones. Okay, this one is like, that little dog is on my rug and he knows better. Okay, this one. Pick something to level up your luxury. Now, this doesn't need to be all the things, right? Because on our journey of investing and, becoming the wealthy person that we feel ourselves to be, like in our core, we can't be leveling up all the things all at once, right? We need to pick one thing and we need to just like slightly up level it, right? And so for me, that was taking my husband on a cruise that was nicer than Carnival, because that was our first one. I was like, no, I want something like a little bit more upscale, like not, top of the line, but something a little bit better, right? And that's exactly what we got. Like there was like every time we debarked for our excursions, there was like this beautiful array of like citrus infused water and hot towels before you got back on the ship. And they were not doing that for the other cruise lines. Okay, I looked, trust me. And in their bathrooms, they would have like hot or towels towels rolled up instead of just like paper towel. Like you had your option actually. Just the way that the food was set up, like there was like a chocolate fountain, like it was just beautiful. There was like mirrors on the ceiling, like the rooms were beautiful. It was like marble looking bathrooms, like it was nice. And I say this because let me just be clear. Find an experience to up level for luxury, because just buying like, people say buy a designer handbag and then that'll cause you to like, do more work to afford all sorts of things like that. I think that can be helpful, yes, but I also think that can actually just cause you to get stuck in the whole like loop of materialism, which as Americans, I mean, we have problems with materialism, myself included. So there's that. But then there's also like, okay, so like if you don't have that money, like truly, but you have that bag and you're showing up, like if I were to buy like a Louis bag and I would have shown up in like my Honda Insight, it's like, what? Like make it make sense. It's just like, it's not like, it's just not like congruent. I don't know. And that would bother me. That would make me really embarrassed actually. So, because honestly, like I want a Louis, but like I'm not about to like pull up in my Honda Insight. I have no shame about my Honda Insight. I think it's super cute. It's a hybrid. She gets me where I need to go. And I have like paid her off. Well, I'm paying my credit card off, but like technically her car loan is paid off, honey. So like, don't care, whatever. I'm not going to get out of my car with my Louis bag and in my Honda Insight. It's just not happening. And then another thing is like rich people, maybe not rich people, wealthy people, because there's a difference. Wealthy people do not like, they're not flashy with material goods like that. Like they're just not. Like some of the most wealthy people that we, know or like hear about, they are not flashy at all, right? Because they're not trying to prove something to somebody else. And that's what like these designers who are like super flashy with their prints and their emblems are trying to do. Like they're honestly for poor people so that they can look rich and expensive, but really it just makes them not look rich and expensive. So yeah, level up an experience. So that way you can learn through osmosis, right? If you can start having conversations with other people who are also on this, activity, you start getting like these business ideas or other sort of ideas or just insights or different ways of thinking, like different perspectives that you maybe wouldn't have gotten had you took like a regular vacation, right? With people who are in the same kind of like vibrational state as you are, or kind of working in like the same, you know, the kind of job, or like that are in the same like socio-economic class, right? So like let's level it up so we can learn through osmosis, so we can then also network with people who can potentially connect us with other people who can help us achieve the dreams that we want. Not to say this in like, a self-serving way, because we need to believe that we all have something of value that we can contribute to somebody else, right? So somebody who, is wealthy in business or whatever, like they may need help with their skin, and that's something that I can help them with, right? Like they can consult me in business, I can consult them with their skin and how to get like beautiful, healthy, even skin, right? We all have something of value that we can share. Ooh, this is good. Okay, so this goes back to that book that I was telling y'all about. So, and again, this just goes back to even the last point that we just talked about. When you uplevel your experience, you end up again getting different ideas. And so I was coming back from Miami from the cruise, and I was just scrolling through, and I found this podcast called Successful Women Think Differently, and it's by Valorie Burton, I believe. She's got a whole slew of books, which I fell down the rabbit hole of those. They're all amazing. She even has one that is about how do you coach yourself, right? So you don't have to pay for someone to coach you. And this is the insight, and the highlight is, when you learn how to ask better questions, you get better answers. Like, obviously, right? But seriously, like, this book has taught me, better yet, not like even taught me, like it's given me the exact questions. To be honest, I had to pause it at some parts, and I really should go back to it if I'm being really honest, because some of them are really uncomfortable to answer, right? But it's like, how do we get the true feedback and the true insight that we need if we're not asking ourselves the proper questions? So I definitely recommend it. I want to say it's like Successful Women Coach Differently, or like Coaching Successful Women. Just type in Valorie Burton Successful Women Coaching Question. All right, let's move on to the next insight, and that being, girl, don't think that you can out invest high interest debt. Now, that was something that I really struggled with, because I was like, okay, I'm doing so good. I'm doing my roundups on Acorn, and I'm investing in Stash. I've got my public portfolio. Like we good. We out here, right? We're doing it. But I didn't realize until I started listening to the Rich Habits podcast that you literally cannot out invest high interest debt. So like your credit cards may be anywhere between like 16 to like 25%. And the average return for the market's only like, I think it's like 10 to 14%, could even be lower than that, could even be higher than that, right? But like that's on average. So you're telling me that you think that you can out invest something that has interest of, anywhere from 16 to 25 plus percent. It just doesn't work. Like, make it make sense, right? So when I realized that, I was like, okay, prioritizing paying off my credit card, anything that has high interest, I'm paying it off. So that is now finished. And of course I've got like my school loans, but that interest is only like 3%. So I'm not really too worried about that. It's the interest that's in the teens, right? So like car loans, credit cards, anything that's super high interest, like just take a pause from your investment strategy, so that way you can actually pay off your debt, and more of your money is not just being eaten away from interest by interest, right? And this next point actually goes along with, girl, don't just park your money in a regular savings account. Like, we want our money to grow, right? So like I put my money in treasury bills or T-bills. And so they are super, super safe. Like it's like the less amount of risk. Oh, is that a dog? That's a little cat. These are going to be the safest forms of investing because it's essentially like you are letting the government borrow money from you so that way they can fund like construction and things like that, whatever they use it for, right? But they are giving you like your yield, your savings yield is like between like 4 and 6%. And so my little like $430 that I put in there 5 or 6 months ago, it's now at like $668. Now I know that's not a lot, but had my money just been sitting in a regular savings account, it would be honestly losing money due to inflation, but instead it's making money. So if you want to know how to do that, just go to public.com. You'll sign up, create an account. You will have to give like your sensitive information, but it is safe, like trust. And then you can put in however much money you want. Also, a little fun thing, not as far as like an insight goes, but I started investing in royalties, and so like music royalties. So your girl is a proud owner of 10 shares of the Shrek franchise, which is so cool because anytime like it gets played or whatever, I don't really know how it all works, but I think every time it gets played, your girl is getting a dividend, okay? And I like to make money. I want my money to be making money. This is actually an insight. Poor people think of money as a means to just like pay bills. Middle class think of money as a means to, that you're like comfortable paying bills and you can now have more credit to afford things, right? But the rich people, the wealthy people, they know that money is just a tool to make more money. So money should be making you more money always. Every dollar you get in, you should be thinking, how can this dollar make me more money? We want our money to be making babies. Lots and 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 lots of money babies. So when we start thinking about that, income producing assets, IPAs, that's money, right? How can we think about how our money can produce us income producing assets, right? And not liabilities. We don't want any liabilities. We don't want to be a part of like the broke girlies, the people who are just trying to front. No, we want to be truly wealthy girlies, okay? Wealthy women, okay? All right. And then the last thing, now, and these are no particular order, but the last insight or tidbit that I have for 2023 is do not procrastinate what you actually have to do for something that you have to do. So you know that you need to be working on writing your book or writing your paper or generating new business ideas or coming up with a business plan or, actually like marketing, going out, talking to real people, testing your product, like getting your name out there. You need to be doing those things, but instead you're like, oh, I need to fold the laundry. I need to wash the dishes. Oh my gosh, the kitchen's a mess. I need to clean the kitchen. Those things are not making you money. Again, income producing assets. You folding the laundry and doing all the things, I understand has to be done. We all have our domestic role. And I hate it, to be honest. But I have to do it because I can't afford. So, but is that like just a poor people habit or mindset, right? Because if I truly believed how valuable my time was, I would have no problem paying somebody to take that off my plate because I know my time could be better else spent doing things that only I can do. Anybody can fold the towels, okay? Anyone can do that. But can anyone talk about my business the way I can talk about it? Can anyone showcase products the way I can showcase? Can anyone do facials how I can do facials? No, right? So like, don't prioritize the things that are not truly important or things that are not going to move the needle. Stop prioritizing them. That is low key being a procrastinator, but it's masked and, oh, I got so much done today. It's like, we need to do the important things first, okay? So do the important things. And that's it for this episode. I hope you guys had a great 2023. I'm excited to see what 2024 has in store. We're already rhyming here. We already know it's going to be a good year. But until next time, remember you are beautiful, you are brilliant, you are brave. The Lord loves you. I love you. And I hope you have a great new year. Bye.